I'm Kaylee, and today I want to talk about the BBC's list of the 100 novels that shaped our world. So I saw Claudia over at Spencer's Library talk about this list from the BBC of the 100 novels that shaped our world that were somehow very influential in the development of culture in different areas of the world. I saw her talking about which one of these she has read and which ones she agrees with and which ones she thinks should be on this list and they're not on the list. And so I thought, well, you know what? I'm just going to have to go through this list and see what this is all about. Before we get into the 100 novels, I want to make sure that you know that Books from K's is a charity that donates books to missionary kids. Today's MK Shoutout goes to Anna, who lives with her family in Mexico. She's 15 years old, and I am particularly proud of this missionary kid because she has dyslexia, and she struggles with reading, and yet she keeps at it. If you want to donate to Anna and children like her, you can donate to the Books from K's charity at GoFundMe.com. Please give this video a big thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. So I actually printed out the list so I could sit there and highlight different ones and check off the ones that I have read. This is a lengthy list. This is 3 pages. So we're gonna go through these and just talk about a few of them. I'm obviously not gonna talk about all of them because some of them I don't even recognize the names. These are all put into different categories. So the first category is identity. Out of all of these, the only one that I really recognized was Sylvia Plath's The Bell Jar, which I have not read, so I don't know. The next one is love and romance category. I recognize the name of Bridget Jones's Diary, but I have never read Bridget Jones' Diary. I think I saw most of the movie one time, and I was just kind of like, not for me. I know that it's a retelling of Pride and Prejudice, but somehow it still just never really appealed to me. But interestingly, the only one in this category that I have read is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. So that one, of course, is a forever favorite. The next category is adventure, and I have read a lot more from this category. I also recognize a lot more of these books. I recognize Ernest Hemingway's For Whom the Bell Tolls, although I have not read that one. And I recognize Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials trilogy. I think I read like the first couple of chapters of The Golden Compass, and then I just said, not for me, sorry. The ones that I have read and which I love are Sir Walter Scott's Ivanhoe. That is a huge, huge favorite of mine. Another one on here is Suzanne Collins' The Hunger Games, another favorite. And of course, Tolkien's Lord of the Rings trilogy. That is a massive favorite that I reread all the time, and I'm so glad that it's on this list. One that's on this list, but I have not read it yet, but it is on my TBR, is John Buchan's Mr. Standfast. I am still working through a lot of John Buchan's works, and I talk about his books a lot of the time. The 39 Steps is one of my favorites from him. The Blanket of the Dark is another one. He has a very rich writing style, and so I'm really glad to see him on this list. The next category is Life, Death, and Other Worlds. So I'm not sure what the other worlds part is. Maybe that's like sci-fi or something, because I do see stuff on here that could be considered sci-fi. One that I have not read but that I'm interested in reading is Dune by Frank Herbert. One that I have read is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which of course Frankenstein has to be on this list. It was kind of just this turning point in literature, I think. And I'm very, very glad to see that The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis is on here. I guess that's where the other worlds part comes in, because technically, Narnia is fantasy, but they do go to another world, so it fits. Another one that has to do with other worlds, I guess, is the Earthsea trilogy by Ursula Le Guin. Now, it's interesting how they call it a trilogy because technically she kept adding to that series, and now there's something like 6 books in the Earthsea series. So I'm not sure why they wrote trilogy on there. I don't know. One that's in this section is Game of Thrones, which I have not read. I have not watched the shows or anything. I've heard that it's just very violent, and that is not something I am interested in. So, no thank you, Game of Thrones. Moving on to the section about politics, power, and protest. The only one on this that I have read is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I think I've read that twice now. There are a couple on here that are on my TBR, The Lord of the Flies by William Golding and Brave New World. Most of the rest of these I have not heard of. I mean, I've heard of The Color Purple by Alice Walker. I've heard of V for Vendetta by Alan Moore, but those aren't ones that I particularly have on my TBR. Leave a comment for me, like, should I have that on my TBR? Yes, you absolutely have to read that, or no, don't bother. So let me know down in the comments. The next section is Class and Society, and I have read several in this. I've read Wide Sargasso Sea, which is kind of a prequel to Jane Eyre, which is told from a different side character's perspective. I did not enjoy that one. I thought the writing style was really disjointed, and I understand why they did that because the character is disjointed, but I still didn't like it. The other one is one of my favorite Dickens novels, Our Mutual Friend. Dickens, a lot of his books talk about class and society and all of that. So I'm interested to figure out why Our Mutual Friend in particular made this section of the list and not others of his books. This one does talk a lot about money, and so maybe that's why, because money is a very, very central theme in Our Mutual Friend, so maybe that's why. The next section is Coming of Age. This one has a lot of my favorites. It has Emily of New Moon by Ellen Montgomery. I'm surprised that it doesn't have Anne of Green Gables on here, but maybe that's in another section or something. It has the Harry Potter series. Somehow I don't think of the Harry Potter series as coming of age. I think of it as fantasy, but it definitely has that application. You know, Harry Potter grows up through the series, so it works. Another one is The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton, which I read many years ago and really enjoyed. And the last one that I was surprised to see on this list is The Twilight Saga by Stephanie Meyer. I'm glad they included it on here. You know, Twilight gets a lot of criticism and everything, but I enjoyed it. And it kind of relaunched the young adult genre, and it got a lot of people interested in reading that otherwise probably would not be around reading, you know, or at least not reading as much, or reading so much for enjoyment and stuff. So I don't know why the Twilight Saga gets such a bad rap. I mean, is the series perfect? No, but the Harry Potter series isn't perfect. The Anne of Green Gables series isn't perfect. Dickens's books are not perfect. We're not looking for perfection. We're looking for a good story. And the Twilight Saga is definitely that. Okay, moving on. I could do a whole nother video about that. The next section is Family and Friendship. Oh, I have a lot of these that I've read as well. Ballet Shoes by Noel Streatfeild. Oh, I love Ballet Shoes. Oh, such a sweet story, and so much fun and beautifully written. Really, really well written. And it has a very central theme about family and coming together as a family. So that's a good one. Cold Comfort Farm by Stella Gibbons is another one that I really enjoyed. This one is kind of more about weird families, families that don't get along, families that just need to let themselves, you know, just you go be you over there and I will go be me over here. So it's a different kind of family dynamic in Cold Comfort Farm, but it's very funny and oh, so much fun. Now, one that I do have on my TBR is I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith. So many people talk about this, and I can't believe that I've lived so long and I have not read this one because so many people talk about it, and it sounds like it's just the kind of thing that I would love. So that is definitely on my TBR that I need to read. The next couple of ones are classics that I've really enjoyed. Middlemarch by George Eliot. I think I would like to reread Middlemarch because it's such a dense book. It's hard to really grasp the epicness of all of it on just one reading. I feel like I want to read it again and kind of dive a little deeper, you know. The other one is Tenant of Wildfell Hall, and this is about a dysfunctional family, a family that has broken apart, and how friendships can actually save that family and, you know, bring a lot of healing to people. So Tentative Wildfell Hall can be kind of dark at times, but it has a really positive and hopeful message. And this one is adorable that it's on here. It's The Witches by Roald Dahl. The Witches is such a fun and kind of strange little story. And I guess it is sort of about family and friendship. I don't know that I would say that's a central theme in that book, but I guess it sort of fits in this category. I don't know. It mainly, you think about the magic and the witches and the adventure of it, rather than it being so much of a family story. So I'm not really sure why it is in this category, but whatever. Who am I to tell the BBC how to do their categories? The next section is crime and conflict. I've only read a couple of books in this section. I've read Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, which, such deep mystery and so much good, thrilling adventure and intrigue and stuff. Rebecca's incredible. It absolutely deserves to be on this list. And of course, what kind of crime section would it be if it didn't have Sherlock Holmes? The one on the list is The Hound of the Baskervilles by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I really think that any of the Sherlock Holmes stories or books deserve to be on this list. All of them do. Sometimes The Hound of the Baskervilles is not actually people's favorite Sherlock Holmes. I think maybe The Study in Scarlet would have been a better one to go on the list, but really any of them are great, of course. And this entire other list of crime and conflict, I do not recognize any of these names. I don't know the authors' names. I don't know the titles. I don't recognize any of these other ones. So I don't know, maybe I need to read more mysteries. What's weird to me is there is not a single Agatha Christie book in the crime section. What? What is happening? Has the BBC gone mad? The queen of crime is nowhere in the crime section. What? She's nowhere on this list. Agatha Christie is not on this list. What is happening in the world? Well, they just made a mistake. They just need to change this list so that it's all Agatha Christie. The very last section is rule breakers, and there are only two on here that I recognize. 1984 by George Orwell is on here. I actually can't remember if I read this when I was a kid and then I just forgot about it, but it is on my TBR to either read for the first time or reread. It's funny, I can't really remember if I've read it before. And the other one on this section that I have read and really enjoyed was Smith, Journalist by P.G. Wodehouse. P.G. Wodehouse just wrote so many comedic, hilarious novels. He's known for the Jeeves books, with Jeeves the butler and everything. And he wrote, I want to say 3 or 4 books about Smith, going from his school days all up to his career as a journalist. Smith is definitely known for breaking the rules. And of course, it gets him into all kinds of hilarious trouble. Okay, those are the BBC's 100 books that changed the world or shaped the world or whatever. And the ones that I've read, the ones that are on my TBR, ones that I've never heard of before, ones that I think, excuse me, why is this book not on that list? Please leave me a comment down below and let me know what are some of these books that you have read that you think should be on the list and they're not there, or ones that I mentioned that you say, oh no, don't read that one, it's not worth your time, or yes, you need to read that, you absolutely need to dive in, it is worth it. Thanks for watching, please subscribe, and remember, the right book in the right hands at the right time can change the world.